Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. Today I'm super excited to do a part 2 of a video that I've actually done before. So that video was books that I wish I could read for the first time again. And personally, I feel like there's something really special about reading a book for the first time, especially the ones that later become your favorites, because there's something about experiencing those characters for the first time, experiencing the twists and the turns and just everything you loved about the book the first time that is just so magical. And a lot of these books that I'm going to mention today, I don't necessarily think that they're not going to hold up on a second reread, but I do think that there is something unique and amazing and magical and wonderful about the first time that I read them that I think can't be replicated again. So if I could go back in time and just like re-experience reading these for the first time again, you know, wipe my memory and read them again for the first time, that would be so dang cool because they were just so fantastic. So a lot of the books that I'm going to mention today are books that I've read in the past 1 to 2 years. So they are different books from the ones that I mentioned in the previous version of this video. So if you want to know more books that I wish I could read for the first time again, I would highly recommend going to the description and checking out the first version of this video. With all that said, I'm really excited to talk about these books, but before that, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Blackstone Publishing. Blackstone Publishing was launched in 2015, and their goal is to publish groundbreaking fiction and nonfiction by talented writers. And today I'm really excited to talk about one of their newest titles, which is Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives by Rick Blewis. If you are someone who loves mysteries, especially of the cozy variety, if you like Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot stories, then this is definitely the book for you. Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives is set in 1910 in England. We open in a small and sleepy English municipality of Haxford, where a new chief police inspector has started. At first, our dapper, unflappable, and eccentric new inspector named Pignon Scorpion strikes a bit of an odd figure to the locals in the town, but it's not long before Haxford realizes that they are really in need of a detective. From there, we follow Pignon Scorpion as he solves crimes from the comfort of the barber shop, and he's joined by the other barbershop employees as they become detectives as well. It's a cast of memorable characters and some good old-fashioned sleuthing, and I think it's the perfect read to be picking up as we are exiting summer and entering fall and just getting into that cozy time of the year. I'm so excited to pick up Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives by Rick Blewis, and I hope you will pick it up too. So if you want to put some fun back into your reading with this classic throwback whodunit, I would highly recommend going and ordering a copy of Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives using the link in my description and on the screen. Thank you so much to Blackstone Publishing for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into the books I wish I could read for the first time again. Alrighty, the first book that I wish I could read for the first time again is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, and this one felt like a no-brainer to me as I was looking at my shelves because I feel like with this book it had so many interesting twists and turns and just revelations about the world and the characters that I just loved every moment of it, and I wish I could experience it again for the first time. This book, if you don't know, is a bit of a sci-fi, a bit of a contemporary story. It really talks about the idea of fame and this new age where like regular people can become famous and sort of social media stars. And I just found it so interesting. Basically, this book is set in our real world, and these giant statue-like things have appeared all over the world, and people are starting to call them Carls, and that begins from this video that the main character posts on YouTube. Her name is April May. She posts this video of the Carl that she finds in New York City and calls him Carl, so people adopt this name, and she becomes sort of this figure that represents these new alien things that have appeared all over the world, and you start to see the polarization across the world of people who are in support of the Carls and what they might mean for alien life and, you know, the things that we can discover, and then people who are deeply afraid of these new things and what it could mean for humanity. Overall, this was a fascinating book, and it explored so many interesting themes, like both social and sci-fi, which I just absolutely loved. So I think if you are into like more real life but slightly sci-fi books, this one is definitely one to pick up because it was just so cool. I personally didn't love the second book, the sequel, as much as I loved the first one, but I still think it was like a nice addition and sort of continuation of the story. But I do think you could also just read this book as a standalone and it would still be fun. So yeah, personally love this so much, and I wish I could just like experience all of the twists again for the first time. I think that was one of the things that was just so cool about this, but I do feel like this one, I haven't read it in a while, so I'm hoping to reread it in like a couple years when I've like completely forgotten what happens, and I think it'll be a really fun time. Next, I have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read this last fall, I think, and absolutely fell in love with it. Silvia Moreno Garcia is actually one of my new favorite authors. I just love everything that she writes, but this one in particular I love the most because the twists and the turns in this one were so amazing, and like the reveals were so fantastic. And it's one of those books where after having read it, you're like, I can't unsee or like I can't unexperience what I read in this book. For anyone who's read it, like the twist at the end and like what you find out is just insane, and I just can't forget it. Like, mushrooms are not to be trusted. That is what I have learned. But basically, for those of you who don't know, this is a bit of a haunted house story. It's set in 1950s Mexico, and it follows our main character, Noemi, whose cousin, I think, is the one who has recently gotten married, and she's like moved off to the countryside with her husband, who is like this English lord, I think. And he owns this like very big manor house that employs a lot of Mexican residents. And Noemi starts to receive these very strange letters from her cousin, who is saying that these strange things are happening in the house, that her husband's trying to kill her, and all these ridiculous claims. And so because of this, Noemi's father is like, maybe you should go check up on your cousin and also make sure everything's okay. And so Noemi goes off to the countryside to go stay with her cousin and her husband for a few weeks, and she starts to learn some interesting things about both the house and the residents there, and things get creepy from there. This is definitely like a gothic horror. It's got lots of fun horror-y bits to it. Nothing too graphic, I would say, but it is quite creepy, and I loved every moment of it. And I just wish I could like re-experience all of the reveals again, because they were so well timed, so well done. And yeah, I just loved every moment of this book, and I kind of want to reread it soon, but I just remember too much of it right now that I need to wait a little bit longer. Alrighty, next I have one of my all-time favorite books of this entire year, and that is Kaigi by Vaishnavi Patel. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking about this book, but I love it to pieces, and I can't not mention it here, because honestly, reading this book for the first time when I had the ARC back in January was just one of the most magical experiences ever. I read this in I think 2 days flat, and it is a chonker of a book, but I fell in love with both the writing and the characters and just what was happening. And I think just the experience of like learning the story and seeing how it was going for the first time was just unparalleled. But basically, for those of you who have not heard me talk about this book before, it is basically a feminist retelling of the ancient Hindu epic called the Ramayana. And in the epic, there is a vilified queen who is named Kaigi. She's sort of the evil stepmother character in the epic. And so this book takes her perspective and tells her story from when she's a child into her adulthood and into the events of the epic. And you're getting to see her reasons for what she does in the epic, and also like the life that she lives. And at its core, it's a very feminist story, and it's a story of women helping other women and trying to pave the way for each other. And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful book, and it has my entire heart. It's my favorite thing I've read ever. And yeah, I just love it so much. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I love it so much that I wish I could experience falling in love with it for the first time again. Like, I think when you fall in love, you're like, I wish I could do this again from the beginning, because it was such a beautiful, amazing feeling, and I feel like I feel that way about this book. Speaking of falling in love, I would love to read The Love Hypothesis again for the first time and just fall in love again, because it was such a cute romance. This book is pretty popular on BookTube and on TikTok. I know a lot of people either love or hate this one, but I personally loved it to pieces. It is really cringy, really cute, but I loved every moment. It basically follows this girl who is in STEM. She's getting a PhD, I think, and she ends up in a fake dating situation with one of the PhD supervisors, not her supervisor, but someone else's. And it's this really cute situation because he comes off as like quite standoffish and arrogant and kind of mean to everyone else. But when they are interacting and when they're together, he's like such a sweet muffin. And that's literally my favorite trope of men in romance books. So yeah, this one was like a really fun time. And I think I was just like so giddy and like happy while reading this that the whole experience was just wonderful. And I feel like I wish I could experience that from beginning to end again. I just had so much fun with it. And so reading it for the first time would be like a dream. Next, I have a thriller that I read last year, but it's actually been popular for quite a while now. And I personally really loved it, but I know some people have mixed feelings about it, but personally I loved it. And that is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelids. I don't read a lot of thrillers, so this one definitely impressed me. And I feel like this one felt so unique because it felt more of like a psychological thriller in a sense, because I just couldn't tell what the characters were thinking and like what the psychosis that was going on was. And I feel like the characters were just so complex and interesting to read about, and I was just on the edge of my seat wanting to know more about why they did the things that they did and all of that. And I think all the twists were so well done and so fantastic. I did not see any of them coming. Like, there were seeds there, but I didn't see them coming, and that's like the best feeling to have in a thriller. So I personally loved it so much, and if I could read this again, I think I would be equally astounded and amazed. For those of you who don't know what this is about, basically it starts off with this situation with this woman named Alicia Berenson, and her life is completely perfect until one day her husband Gabriel comes home from work and she shoots him 5 times in the face. And before that, they had a seemingly wonderful, beautiful relationship and like were really loving and all of that, so no one understands why she did this. And after the murder, she doesn't speak a word again, and so no one can get anything out of her, and she ends up getting committed to a psychiatric unit in North London. And this is where our main character and narrator come in. His name is Theo Farber, and he's a criminal psychotherapist. And so he applies for like this new position at the Grove, the psychiatric unit that Alicia Berenson is at, and he is determined to sort of crack her code and figure out why she murdered her husband and all this. And so he ends up getting embroiled in this whole mystery. But I think what was so fascinating about this book was that like you get perspective chapters from both Alicia and Theo, and you start to realize that neither character is completely reliable as a narrator, and that was just so fascinating, and I just loved every moment of it. Alrighty, and then finally I actually have a sequel in a series that I absolutely love. So the series is called the Arc of Side series, and the book I want to talk about is Thunderhead, and this is by Neil Shusterman. For those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you know that the Arc of Side series is one of my favorite series ever. It's a YA dystopian sci-fi series that I think is just so fantastic, especially in the themes and the concepts that it tackles. But this book is the second book in the series, and personally my favorite in the series because it has so many twists and reveals and things that go on that will just blow your mind, especially if you're a avid sci-fi reader or someone who really just enjoys these types of stories. You are gonna love it. It has such great twists and just so many interesting breadcrumbs that are like woven throughout the series, and then when they come to fruition in this book and the last book, you're just so fascinated. But for those of you who don't know what this is about, basically it's set far into the future when humanity has basically conquered death, disease, and anything that could really shorten a human lifespan. And so they've also conquered the ability to sort of turn back your aging, and you know, someone who is like 150 could present as like 30 years old. So all of this is possible now in the world. But because of this, the population has overgrown and humanity has yet to be able to colonize other planets, and so there's not enough space for everyone on Earth. And so because of this, the solution that humanity has come up with is the sides. So sides are these people in like little robes with like the knife thingy, the side, and they're tasked with curbing population growth. So they're literally given license to kill a certain number of people each year, like a quota of people. And this is to like reduce the population, but they are able to choose who they kill however they want. I think they have certain rules about who they can kill and that kind of thing, but it's just based on this quota. So they could like decide to wipe out a whole town, or they could do like, you know, a person here and there, or whatever they want. And so people in this world are sort of living in fear that, you know, a scythe might one day come knocking, because otherwise they're basically immortal. It's this really fascinating concept, and the first book follows these two characters who compete to become new scythes, and you are seeing as they sort of start to discover this world of sides and like the politics that is involved with that, and it's an overall fantastic time. If you found any of that interesting, I highly recommend picking this series up because it's so fantastic. And I honestly just wish I could experience the entire series all over again because I just loved it so much. Alrighty, with that said, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found a new book to pick up. I absolutely love all these books and really honestly wish I could read them for the first time again. But I'd love to hear from all of you, what's a book that you would love to read for the first time again? Whether it's a favorite of yours or one that was just such an interesting experience that you would love to do it again. As always, I love hearing what you guys have to say, and I always get some really great recommendations from you guys, so definitely leave those down below. And once again, thank you so much to Blackstone Publishing for sponsoring this video for the release of Pignon Scorpion and the Barbershop Detectives. Definitely go grab your copy using the link in my description. I don't think you'll regret it. It seems like it's going to be a really fun, sleuthy, whodunit mystery. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out my Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and TikTok in the description down below, and I will see you in my next video. So please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!